So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been thinking about getting a Reptile skink from us or from other breeders, I know it's frustrating to find all the information through the Google. So, in today's video, I'm going to give you all the information that I know for my Reptile skinks and help you become the master by sharing all my tips and experiences. But before I begin, let's start the intro. Now, before you do research about anything, you do need to know how many you could keep in one tank. My recommendation is a pair or one single male and two females. A side note from that, over the years of my experience, I was taught that Reptile skink would fight if there are multiple males in one enclosure with females. But truth is, if you house them all together in one enclosure at the same time, they'll go well along together almost 99% good without any fighting issues. However, if you introduce a new one in the colonized setup, this will lead them to fight and eventually you will see a crocodile skink getting hurt or missing tails. This will be just my experience, so it may not apply to all, but putting a group of Reptile skink in a new enclosure at the same time have shown a great respect from each other and create a great bonding. For the size of the tank, it really varies depending on how many you're getting, but if it's one Reptile skink, I recommend 10 to 20 gallons seems to work the best, and pair, which a lot of people do 20 to 40 gallon size tank will be the best recommended. Now, I know you would think bigger setup would be the better options for them, but truth is, they like to be in a place smaller rather than too big because their characteristics are very shy and timid. So it's better to provide all the resources like water bowl and food bowl nearby the hive. If you place the resources too far from bowl or from their water bowl or hive, this will make hard for them to eat and swim since they always want to do all things quietly when humans are not watching. For their tank setup, I'll prepare 1 or 2 decent sized water bowls to soak their body when they're hot or dehydrated. Key takeaway from this is make sure you're giving them a shallow water. Although they love water, they're not a great swimmer. So if you give them a water too deep, they could drown themselves. So 1 to 1.25 inch height water will be my best recommendations. If you do it this way, they should still be able to extend their head out and breathe while their bodies are fully soaked in the water. Next, the second important item is a hide. They spend most of their time in the dark hide. They like to spend their day quiet and dark where humans can't see. So if you own Reptile skink, expect to see them maybe 1 or 2 times a week. Although they look sharp and brave, they have an opposite characteristic from their appearance. I recommend 3 hides or more will be the best for each tank. But more hides you provide, they will be more hard to find in the tank. But this will definitely give them more comfort when they are in captive. So the more better for Reptile skink. Now for the food informations, when they are new to the environment, they will less likely to eat and they need some time to adapt to new environments. I noticed recently I've seen a lot of my clients doing a quarantine in a smaller plastic tank and transfer them to the final tank after 2 weeks. But this is actually a terrible idea to do for them, because this gives them a more stress to adapt new environments and extend their anorexia, which they won't eat a long period of time until they are settled, which it takes about 1 or 2 weeks to get settled for the new environment. So I highly recommend putting them in an enclosure where they will be settled and get them eat as soon as possible to avoid severe anorexia. When they are transferred to a new setup, they won't eat for long and will be perfectly fine not eating till 2 weeks. One easy way to get them to eat faster is by placing the clear glass bowl right next to their hides. They are super shy and timid, so if you place a clear bowl right next to their hides, it would give them a courage to eat faster and adopt faster when they're eating well. They're not going to eat a lot like leopard geckos or other reptiles, but as long as you see their feces like their poop in the tank, then it means they're doing really well in the enclosure. Humidity. This really varies depending on your living environments, but if you're living in a dry area like me, you'll want to spray more water more often, and if you're living in a humid area, it will be best to set up both dry and humid areas so they could dry their skin after they shed. This is one of the most frequent issues that I've been seeing from my clients, but when you start seeing their skins coming off and showing white soft tissues, this means your setup is too humid and they are having problems drying up their skins after they shed. This could lead to a bacteria infections if you don't make an adjustment right away. Overall, 70 to 85% humidity level in the humid zone is my recommendation. So I recommend to act fast and provide them a dry area as well, like how you provide cool and hot zone for other reptiles. Now, since I discussed about the dry and humid area, for the temperature, the next thing you should prepare is a perfect temperature for your Reptile skink. And I like to give them a temperature around 74 to 78 Fahrenheit. During the summer, you would have the AC on, so the room temperature would be perfect, but during the winter, the heater may not be enough for your reptile, so I do turn on the heat pad during the cold seasons. There are 3 different lights heat sources that I often see in the reptile market, but I don't recommend using a light bulb that you use for your bearded dragons, because most of them are too hot and too bright. If you can find the heat pad, the moonlight light bulb will be the best recommendation since it only emits low light. This will give them a less stress during night and day. Avoid the bright lights and go for dark blue moonlights if you don't have any other options. I saw some people use red lights because reptiles don't recognize the red colors, but I just feel more confident using dark blue lights if I can. It just seems more safer to me in my opinions. Second heating products I see people using is the ceramic heating non-light lamp emitter, which this one doesn't have lights, but it makes the air too dry. Reptile skinks need some humidity compared to desert reptile. But this one doesn't have lights, but it makes the air too dry. Reptile skinks need some humidity compared to desert reptiles, and therefore it could be dangerous for them if you use a ceramic lamp. Also, the ceramic lamp gets super hot compared to the other heating products, so if you use the wrong one, it could really burn them, and that's no for me. Lastly, third one is my favorite and what I use, which is going to be the under tank heating pad. For this one, I normally place it in the corner of the wall and place it right next to the hive, because I know they will be staying in the hive majority of their time. It will give them cozy feeling while they're staying inside the hive. Now, I see a lot of you guys want to build a vivarium, which you want to plant real plants and make your reptiles enclosure more beautiful and naturalistic. However, this has never worked with me, and my crocodile skink doesn't really like them because they just don't like light. You know, the most important things that you need to provide for the live plants is a light, so they can grow. But in reality, the 10 to 40 gallons tank is just way too small for your Reptile skinks to avoid those bright lights, which it will give them more stress, and more stressed they are, they will die faster. So try keeping the tank dark and place it in the quiet place where they're not too distracted. The funny joke Reptile skink breeders would say is raise them like a abandoned child and replace food and water when it needs to. Just don't handle and keep it in the dark, quiet place. This has worked 100% all time to get them into the best shape and condition. Also, if you're living in a place like Las Vegas or Arizona or other dry area, you know the substrate will dry up quickly. So I use E-Quarth substrate to hold the moist longer to prevent dehydration. But if you use E-Quarth, the substrate has a high acidity, so when you plant live plants in this substrate, it will be too acidic for the plants and therefore plants won't survive. I like to feed a variety of insects. Definitely a major one is the mealworms, superworms, and dubious. Maybe once in a while, I'll feed earthworms and silkworms as a treat, but for supplements, I have noticed a lot of people just feed vitamins. No one ever had any experience in NDB, which in other words they call it metabolic bone disease. But I just like to stir calcium powder too while giving out vitamin powders sometimes. For handling, this is one of the most frequent asked questions, which I understand we want to handle and play with these cool creatures. But these reptiles are not the best reptiles to handle. They do feel threatened when you touch them, which all leads to stress. So if you really want to handle, maybe once in a week would be the best options. For me, I rarely handle them. I only handle them when I'm checking their health or cleaning their enclosure. This gives me an opportunity to take photos while cleaning. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed my Reptile Skink husbandry informations. I know I covered this video a long time ago, but I decided to create one again because old one was misleading and unclear, so I decided to make everything clear for the future Reptile Skink owner. I tried finding the most valuable breeding hacks for a Reptile Skink, and this has worked for me many years, so I'm sharing this with you guys who are getting a new Reptile Skink. So if you enjoyed this video, can you go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to our video? Let me know what you've been using for your Reptile Skink and share what works best for you down in the comments. If you come across a good question, I'll pin a comment under the video so you guys are also learning from other people's questions as well. We'd love to see you stick around on the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.